Hey everyone, so this is your girl Tally from Tally's Chair, and yes, another video, and yes, another brow video, and yes, I want to keep you guys updated what's going on and how to keep this, this beautiful thing going. Even though we're all on lockdown, even here in the Bahamas, it's crazy, but we're gonna make it. So I want you to tune into this video. I'm gonna show you how to use brow stencils to get those brows popping. Tell me what you think. Tell me about this video. Oh, and before I go, please subscribe, like, share, ring the notification bell. You know how this thing goes. Just so that you can stay up to date with what's going on in my world. What you will need to achieve these brows using the brow stencil: brow powder, spoolie or brow brush comb, concealer of your choice, preferably something as close to your skin tone as possible, not too bright, using a concealer brush, brow stencil of course, some loose powder, a small or medium brush, and a duo gel or brow gel. So the first thing I am going to do is set my brows using the Sacha Buttercup. This is light. You can use any shade you wish. This is a little trick I picked up from a few makeup artists on Instagram and on YouTube. In particular, you can look at Beats by Deb. She uses this technique where they apply powder onto the eyebrows to help keep the brows nice and matte. And I also find that by applying some mattifying agent over the eyebrows, it really helps to keep the oil production at bay. So right here, we're looking at the different style stencils. The stencil pack that I'm using, I got from Eyecandymakeupco. We're located in the Bahamas. And this brow pack has a variety of brow shapes. Thin, thick, long, short, high arch, low arches. So you can just pick the one that you think best suits your brow or the one that best suits the look that you are trying to achieve. And so I'm just, just lining it up to help me decide which brow stencil to go with. This next step I find particularly helpful, especially when using brow stencils, because I find that the challenge with a lot of people with brow stencils is that they don't know where to place the brow stencil. So what we're doing here is mapping out our eyebrows, the beginning, the end, and the very top one is our arch, so that we can know exactly where to line up the different points on the brow stencil. So you're going to take your brow stencil in hand, and you're going to line up the very front of the brow stencil with that very first line in the front of your eyebrows. This is the one closer to your nose. And right there, I'm showing you what I'm going to use, which is a brow powder brush, just to create the line under my brow. So we're using the brow powder with the brow brush, angle brush, and I'm just going to fill in that first line. I'm not filling in the entire brow, as you will see. I'm just using the brow, going back and forth with the brow powder. If you can use a tape to tape the stencil to your face, that can work. But because I'm going to be moving the stencil so much, I don't, use a tape to stick it to my face. Because this brow stencil, while I like the shape, it isn't long enough for me to just stick it there and just fill it in. So what I'm doing now is I just filled in the ending part of my tail at the bottom of the brow. Now I'm placing the stencil at the beginning, matching it right up to that line that I drew in, and I'm drawing the top part of my eyebrow, and I'm just moving my fingers along the stencil. Lifting the stencil, I'm going to place the stencil now in the arch only. I'm not concerned about the tail at this point. So I'm putting the arch of the stencil on the arch of my brow, lining it up with that point, just to make sure I got the arch right. And now I'm just filling in the spaces in this eyebrow. Using my brow angle brush. Just filling in a little bit more of that tail. All right. You can still see a little space at the beginning of my brows, but we'll get to that. So we're going to move on to the next eyebrow, and we're going to do the same thing. Mapping out is very important. You can eyeball it, or you can just use a straight edge like I'm doing. Putting that straight edge along the outside of the brow at this point, outside of my eye, and lining it up with my nose and creating that first line, that second line, and now that third line over the top of my eyebrow, which will be for my arch. Again, this is just to help us line up the brow stencil as best as possible. And yes, to help us with placement. So I'm lining up the beginning of that stencil to the beginning of that first line so that I can know where to start my eyebrows. I'm going to begin by, again, filling in just the bottom line of my eyebrows, just the bottom, using a thin angled brush, and you can see that first line. Placing my stencil back on my eyebrows, lining up with that second point that I drew on my face, just underneath my eyebrows. I'm filling in the bottom tail of my eyebrows. Next tip is to, when you're putting your stencil against the face, apply a little pressure so that a little bit of your skin is actually pushing out of the stencil. So that's the second line. Working on my arch, or is it my tail? It looks like my tail. Yes. And I don't know if you can see, like my skin is kind of pushing out through the stencil. And I'm just going over the top of that tail. Now I'm putting in my arch. I did it the opposite way around on this eyebrow. And that's fine. What matters is our end result, okay? So now I'm just going in that eyebrow and just filling it in with more brow powder, because the most important part of the brow is already done, which is the outline. We want to make sure it's balanced, and I'm looking directly into the mirror. I have about 2 mirrors, and I'm just making sure I'm lined up. Now, once that's done, you can remove our points. We don't need to keep them there. Remove our points. And we're just combing that product through our eyebrows just to make sure that the brow is evenly filled in. And feel free to, at this point, if you want to put more powder in, you can go right ahead and fill in your eyebrows with some more. But I'm pretty happy with what I have. In fact, I'm moving on to our next step, which is doing our concealer under our eyebrows. Now, you can use concealer, or you can just use foundation. Foundation works just as well, especially if you're going for something as natural as possible. You don't want to see like a brightness underneath your eyebrows. Then my suggestion to you is to use a foundation. And that is a foundation that is your skin color. As you can see, when I'm using my concealer brush, I'm keeping it very flat against my face and making sure that the tip is just touching the edges of my eyebrows, keeping it very straight. And then I go below that first line of concealer. Still trying to straighten it up here. And I fill in the top of my eyes with the rest of that concealer. But at this point, I'm very meticulous in making sure that the edges of my eyebrows are super straight. And sometimes I find that I'm like holding my breath if I have to, just to make sure I get those lines super straight. Yes. I'm even using this concealer over the top, something I don't normally do, but I do sometimes if I really want my brows to be like pop in. But if you do this, please, ladies, gentlemen, whoever, just don't forget to use foundation, your skin tone, to warm that up, because you do not want a white ring around your eyebrows. That is so not cool. Okay? So I'm just really lining up my eyebrows, keeping my concealer brush very flat against my face, moving slow, taking my time, and going around the eyebrows. The shade that I'm using is Toast from LaGirl on my around my eyebrows. Yes. Taking down that arch a little bit and just making sure that that tail is nice and narrow and pointy. Blending away the middle of my eyebrows. Yes. Just blending away the edges of the concealer. And you just want to get into the habit of being very critical with your eyebrows. When you're cleaning it up, when you're filling it in, just to make sure the edges are super, super straight. All right? So combing my eyebrows again. Just making sure that all the brow hairs are lying in one direction. Making sure it's nice and filled in. So this is another trick I learned from Beats by Deb. Check her out. She did some really nice eyebrows. And she used duo glue on her eyebrows. A trick that she got from somebody else. I don't have the duo, so I said, let me try the glitter glue. And it really did work. Because what it does, it just really lays your brow hairs and make sure that the brows don't, stand up. Or if you have really curly brows, it really keeps them in place. So these brows they're on point, guys. Looking good. Just getting that lighting right. And you can see the brows look pretty good. There you have it. Snapshot. Yes. And so I have one last trick or tip that I like to share with you. Something I love to do with my eyebrows when I'm doing makeup, full-on makeup, or just doing my brows by itself, is use a loose powder on my eyebrows at the very beginning. This is also to help the brows look nice and soft. So I'm using a loose powder. It doesn't matter what brand you use. You can use a Black Opal, any brand. Once it's a loose powder, nice and soft, and it could be invisible powder, or it can have a little tint to it. That's fine. The one I'm using here is by Fenty, and it does have a little tint in it. And I just rest that powder right at the beginning of the eyebrow like I did. And I'm blending away my concealer. So you can see that at the beginning of the eyebrows look nice and soft. Yes, love it, girl. So you've watched the video. Tell me what you think. Tell me how you feel about these brow stencils. It's not so bad, right? Yeah, with a little help, you can get it. You can make it work. It's possible that you can get beautiful eyebrows using these brow stencils. I know. And so what I want you to do, though, once you give it a try, please send me a picture, a video, a small clip, not a whole 20-minute video now. No, don't do it. Okay? So send me a little clip. Send me some pictures of your brows already done. And if you want me to give you feedback, I'll be more than happy to give you feedback on your eyebrows. Okay, so I hope this was helpful to you. And before I go, I want you to subscribe to my channel, like this video, share this video, and you could just, tap on that notification bell just so that you can get notifications for when I'm live and posting my videos and all that good stuff. All right, so it's always a pleasure talking to you and sharing and giving to you here on my channel. So please stay tuned for more videos, more tips, more tricks from your girl. Hey, TALI'S chair, loving you guys, and continue to stay safe.